Alright, so let's take a look at this first run. So first run was kind of a bust because we missed first gear, or didn't miss first, we missed second gear. Not a great way to start off the day. So looking at the log, blue line here is our boost. So this is two-step sitting here, 6200 RPM, green line. And our boost is about 25 PSI, and then right before I let the clutch out, we spiked all the way up to about 50 PSI, 49.35 PSI. Was not intentional. Luckily, our time-based traction control, this ignition cut down here, kicked in, kept the RPM at a reasonable point, 6600 RPM, kept it level, so still left the hole pretty good, but that 50 PSI definitely not something I want to do again. Launch is pretty decent, 1760 foot. Missed second gear, that's what all this is. This is you can see the pedal position here, this green line. So gets a little confusing, but clutch goes in, missed the gear, clutch goes in again, clutch doesn't come back out until about actually, I think I actually have a clutch one somewhere around here. Two-step, there we go, look at that, two-step on off. So yeah, all the space here is me trying to get the car into gear. It's a solid second and a half, just kind of fumbling with the shifter. So once I get the car into gear, once I find second, I guess I had the duty cycle set kind of low, so we were only at about 22 PSI, 25 at peak, but 25 PSI for second and third gear, and I barely got into fourth because, wasted so much time. I also think I short shifted second. No, it's about 8,000, so that's good. Get RPM there, so wound it all the way out to about 7,900, so it's decent. I believe I short shifted. Yeah, short shifted third, but whatever. So yeah, duty cycle, I think it's a combination of having the duty cycle kind of low and the weather being very hot. So boost wasn't what I expected it to be. So I was hoping for about 40 PSI, only saw about half of that. So we were at 20 starting off and peaking at about 26, and third gear about the same, 23 PSI up to about 32 PSI. Down here we have our fuel flow, and with fuel tech, if your fuel tables are set up right and you're running E85, this is actually a pretty good estimate for horsepower. They do have a horsepower estimator, which I haven't figured out how to get that to work, but this is a decent rough estimator. So 300 liters per hour, or labs per hour, is about 340 horsepower. It's about a 1-to-1 ratio. So you can see, starting off in first, second, we've got like no power, 120, so 300. Don't see about 400 until I shift, 450. Third gear about the same, we're 200, 350, 412, and about 500 at the very peak. So ideally I would want to see about 30 PSI the whole way across, but just having trouble getting the tables kind of figured out. So, or when I say tables, the generic. So as far as the clutch goes, it seems to be holding. This red line here is our clutch slip. I got a -2 offset in there to get that right. So this works based off of getting a input shaft RPM, and that's based off of wheel speed, and it does the calculation of the gears backwards and everything to get the input shaft speed. So, and that basically takes the input shaft speed and compares it to the wheel speed, and then you get a slip ratio between the two. So you can see here, coming off the clutch, coming off two-step, we get this little wavy here. This spiky stuff is partially due to the wheel spinning and the speed sensor not being very accurate. Speed sensor's kind of got some dropouts in there. But some of this is actual slip, you know, because it's coming right off of, you know, 6,200 RPM and just dumping the clutch. So that is a little bit of slip, and then you can kind of see where traction and slip kind of disappears about halfway, well, near the end of first, and then we get no slip. Second gear, pretty much no slip. A little wavy, a little bit, 2%, 1.8. I mean, some of that is within the realm of error as far as the sensors and stuff like that, but we'll call anything below like 1 basically nothing. This little spike here is because the wheel speed sensor lost signal, so you get a spike there, and then there's a spike there. Then of course that's a shift. So, but so far so good. Looks like the clutch is holding.
If I can stop missing gears, that would be.
You spin by chance?
No, I missed a gear. I missed third.
Alright, so this is run number 2. So for this run, pretty much the same setup. Only changes I did was I upped the duty cycle for the boost controller, and I reduced the duty cycle on the 2-step to kind of keep that boost under control. So we're at about 13 psi sitting here on the 2-step at 6,100 RPM. Let the clutch out. We're still sitting at about 20 psi, which is about where we want it. So we can see here coming off the clutch, if we look at the clutch slip, practically nothing here. Well, I don't want to say practically, actually nothing here. So no slip coming off the clutch there. A little bit of wheel spin, what we want. You know, we got about a wheel speed of about 27 mile an hour the whole time through there. I think what I might want to do next time around is actually maybe up the boost a little bit or up the RPM a little bit, and I really want this wheel speed to be probably around like a solid 30 mile an hour all the way through first until it hooks up, and that will give me that that real nice launch out of the hole there. We can actually turn the acceleration G-force on here. So the 550 has a accelerometer in it, so we can actually see the amount of G's pulled in first gear. So we're about, you know, solid 1.1 ish G's mostly through the whole, through all the firsts, but that can definitely be a lot better. That run was a 168 60 foot, so could definitely do better than that. So yeah, definitely next run, or not next run, because I'm sitting in my office right now, not at the track. But next time I'm at the track, I will adjust this to maybe have a little more RPM out the hole, or a little more boost to get a little more wheel spin out the hole there. So this run was decent. I won't say it's decent because I missed third instead of second this time around. So we look at launch, first gear, we get up to about 7,900 RPM, then I shift. What I really need to do is rev this out to about 8,300, because after I shift, I land at about 4,600 in second gear, and that's no good. I really want to be at least 5,000 in the following gear, so that I land in the turbo sweet spot, you know, I get that boost instantaneously. So yeah, I definitely short shifted this a bit because it should have been 8,000, but in hindsight, this really should be like 8,300 to really maximize second gear. Saw about 31 pounds peak in second. I would like to see that throughout the entire range, but instead, you know, we're starting out way out of boost. Only about 150, 200 horsepower until we get to about 5,500, and we're about still 200. Then we get to about 6,000, we're about 370 horse. And then not until almost 7,000, we're about 420, 460, 500 at peak. So ideally, this needs to be 31 PSI the whole way across there. So I gotta figure out how to get this boost stable across the entire gear. And then of course, like I said, I missed third gear, so this is where I clutch in, RPM drops, then from here to here, about another solid second of me trying to get the thing into gear. And then I short shift. Well, I didn't really short shift, I let the RPM drop. Actually, no, I would have short shifted that. Definitely would have been a short shift. Shifted at 76. So not only did I miss the gear, I also shifted way too early. So anyways, in third, lands at 46. So way out of power, way out of power, way out of power. You know, it takes about a full second to start getting into the good boost. Then probably about another second after that to get to peak boost, where we're at about 500 horse. And then, you know, yeah, so not really much else going on there. Just got to figure out how to get that boost to be, you know, maxed out all the way across. But as far as clutch goes, once again, we can look at this red line here. This is our clutch slip, and that is pretty flat. Like I said, the waviness comes from a discrepancy between the wheel speed sensor and the input shaft speed. I don't have the wheel size exactly correct, and there's just some error in the wheel speed sensor, so we get some waviness. So like I said, anything under 1 is pretty much nothing. So no clutch slip in first, no clutch slip in second, none in third. So we got this little spike here, but that spike is due to this wheel speed down here, this orange trace. We can see a little dip there coincides with this peak here, so that's a error due to the wheel speed sensor, so nothing to worry about. Same thing here, got a little peak here, or a little dip here, peak there. So this one, or this 4% that shows up there, or 5%, isn't actually real, that's error. But no slipping in second, so that seems pretty good.
slow. I don't know why.
Alright, so this is run number 3, same deal. I think I turned the duty cycle up to get the boost up a little bit. Still having trouble with it not making boost at the beginning of each gear. Really gotta figure that out. So anyways, 6100 RPM launch, 14 PSI, out the hole. Pretty much no clutch slip. Got a little bit, you know, like 2% max, and it levels out. Wheel speed 26 mile an hour whole way through until we max it out at 37, 40, or max out at 42 mile an hour. This run was decent, but also kind of a shit show. So 60 foot was a 167. For some reason, I shifted at 7,500. And so we landed at 4,300 in second gear. So just a whole lot of nothing in second gear until about, 2 seconds into second gear when we hit boost again. And then boost gets up to where I want it to be, 35 PSI in second. But I want it to be 35 PSI the whole way across, because we're, like I said, this is a whole lot of nothing, So, like I said, I gotta figure that out. Figure out why it's not boosting like it should be. Like I said, we can look at the fuel flow here, which is representative of the power being made. And like I said, through the majority of the gear, we're making no power until we get, most of the way through the gear. So, third gear, looks like the boost kind of ran away from me a bit, but not too crazy. So about 44 PSI, 45 max. About 44 PSI, which is about where we should be. That's where the car made 600. Ideally, I want to see like 44 through third and fourth, and like 35-ish through first and second, but that's not what happened. But still got some good data. So yeah, and then, for some reason the boost fell off in fourth gear. About 38, 40 PSI in fourth gear, and not a whole lot of power for some reason. So, yeah, like I said, this whole run was kind of a shit show because we short shifted first at 75, short shifted 7 at 74, and short shifted third at 73. So each time, landed way out of power in the following gear, which is probably contributes to why the car's not making peak boost as quickly as it should. Yeah, so that run was like an 11.7 at 120. So just kind of sad. But like I said, got some good data. At least with this one, with this way over boosting. We were making so this fuel flow works assuming you're actually flowing the amount of fuel you're telling the ECU you are. So with this over boosting here, it's probably accurate to about here where we hit about 620 horse. Above that, what's happening is the fuel pump isn't keeping up. So what it's showing here is like 700, almost 750 pounds an hour of fuel, which it isn't actually flowing. The fuel pump's not capable of that. And so we can confirm that by looking at our fuel pressure here, this orange line. So we see fuel pressure basically rising 1-to-1 with boost pressure. Same thing here with this, got 88 PSI. Right as we hit about 30, 40 PSI, and then we start seeing fuel pressure start to drop. So with the fuel pressure dropping, the fuel flow is also dropping, so this fuel flow isn't accurate here. So car wasn't actually making 700 horse, but it was just but it's probably making well over 600 though. So but with that information, we can look at our clutch slip here and see that even while it was at 44 psi and making all the power, there was 0 clutch slip. So the twin disc definitely holding up. Same thing in 4th gear. A little wavy, a little wonky, but our speed sensor is also wonky. You know, it shows 110 and then it drops down to 105, you know, 109, 111, you know, so our speed sensor is not quite right, so this isn't quite right. It looks like slip. I was a little worried. I looked at it, but looking at the actual wheel speed, the wheel speed is actually dipping down when the actual wheel speed is not dipping down. And we can confirm that because I have a front and rear wheel speed sensor. So our rear wheel speed sensor is more accurate. And we can see that it's, you know, staying where it should be, you know, 120 whatever. And our front wheel speed sensor is kind of trailing under what the actual speed is. So something I gotta figure out. Calculate acceleration speed. But yeah, same thing. These little dips here, or these little peaks, are due to the dips in the front wheel speed sensor. So I need to figure out why that speed sensor is acting funny, but good enough data to confirm that the clutch is in fact holding. But yeah, looking at this log, the biggest thing that we can determine from it is that I need to learn how to drive.
Like it only trapped like 120, so I don't know. Suspension.
Alright, so this is the last run of the night. Still kind of uneventful. It was a 11.6. So, 1.629 60 foot, not bad, not horrible. We can see our G force down here, 1.159 Gs, 1.6. They're about the most of the way through. Not bad. If we look at, let's see which run was it. Was it Fun Day Sunday? There was one of these days I did a 159 60 foot. I believe that was one of the Fun Day Sundays. Yeah. It was the second run on Sunday. 159 60 foot. So this is a log from a few months ago at Fun Day Sunday. And we can look at the acceleration G's in first gear. That's actually, oh no, 1.2. Okay, so it is higher. Well, not by much though. It's more consistent. It's about 1.1 the whole way through. It's a much better launch, you know. This was on the old clutch though. Or was it? Yeah, this was on the old clutch. So, You can tell by all the slippage there in second gear. We'll go over these runs later, but just to compare an ideal launch to a not so ideal launch. There's a wheel speed on. Oh yeah, we're up there like 40 miles an hour the whole way through. That's that's what we want. That's how we get that 60 foot down. Track was a lot colder, so it was a lot easier to get that spin in. Maybe I need to air up the tires next go around. Alright, so this is run 4. I don't remember what I changed. I don't think I changed a lot. I think I tried to make this a Hail Mary pass, and I guess I got duty cycles all wrong again or something. So 6,200 RPM. No, I'm just curious. No, same thing, 62 on that. Why'd that leave so much better? Anyway, 6,200 RPM and about 21 PSI. Thing basically dead hooks. Traction control never kicked on that I am aware of. Well, maybe there was a little bit. There's a little bit of traction, a little bit of ignition cut kicked in, only at the very end. I'm not quite sure why. But yeah, so same kind of thing. Should have revved it out further, but not horrible. Actually 4,500 RPM, so yeah, definitely should have revved that out a little bit more. I got a little more aggressive with the duty cycle, so boost came in a little bit sooner, but not enough to make a difference, not enough to really matter. And then short shifted second for whatever reason, landed at 4,000. Boost came in pretty quick for third, but did not peak out where it was supposed to. I was running more duty than I did in the other passes, but for some reason we only saw 30 PSI. Not quite sure what went wrong there, so measly little 94 mile an hour in the eighth. It should, car normally traps like 107 in the eighth, so when it's turned up. And then short shifting out of third because it felt like that gear lasted forever, because it did last forever. But nothing eventful. Same thing. Maybe a little bit of clutch slip in first, but nothing crazy. Everything's within the realm of error of my calculations there. Yeah, nothing in second, nothing in third, other than our little peaks from our speed sensor. And same thing in fourth. Seems like as speed goes up, speed sensor gets more and more wonky, and so that got more wonky, but no clutch slip in fourth. So yeah, to basically close this up in a tidy fashion, it looks like the clutch is holding. I mean, this is pretty definitive. Pretty much no slip. I say pretty much because there's reasonable error in this this metric here, but it's like I said, it's safe to say anything below 1 is really 0 because of the speed sensor and blah blah, all that stuff. So we'll call this all 0. To show you what actual slip looks like, here is the Sunday that made me go and buy the Twindisc. So you can see lots of slip here in first gear off the launch, like 8-9%. Second gear looks solid, but then it creeps up to about 2.73%, as it starts getting into boost. 3%, 1.9, and then kind of levels out, but still a solid 1%. And then when it's like into third gear, it pretty much just never locks up. It locks up for like a second, then it gets into boost, and then just shoots up to like 12% there. And then I let out to kind of let the clutch lock up. I don't think I pushed in the clutch or anything, but I just kind of let out a power, and then got back into it and instantly went back up to slipping. And then same thing in fourth gear, just kind of coasted a little bit, cruising mid power or mid throttle, still at like 30 psi, but once I put the pedal position on there, so you can see this green line is the pedal position. So you can see right here when it starts to slip, I let out and then just barely get back into it, and it, you know, slips again. Oh, so that wasn't a shift. This is all one gear. That's funny. I go to get back into it again, and it starts to slip, and then I kind of just coasting. You know, 40% throttle, 60%, and then as it gets into higher RPM, higher power, it starts to slip again, 7-8%. So, like I said, that's the old clutch, you know. So that's what a slipping clutch looks like. Not so much here. Clutch kind of held up, which is weird. Like this, I think I was truly just overpowering the ACT, because once I turned down the boost, it was pretty much locked up and working well. A little bit of slip here, second gear. Lots of slip in first gear. Like that's a whole lot of slip. Still did like a 1.6 something 60 foot, even with it slipping that bad. But mostly locked up. A little bit of slip getting into fourth gear. That was pretty solid. I think these two runs I turned it down quite a bit. And this was the last run of that day on the old clutch. Lots of slip in first. Not too bad in second. Starts getting a little wonky in third. 5%, 2.4. Locks up a little bit, but then fourth gear, 2%, 5%, you know, starts slipping, you know. And if you go back and watch some of the old videos, you can hear it. You know, it sounds like a 2-speed. So yeah, like I said, looking at these, we can say that the Adler is dag nabbit, I didn't mean to close that. Anyways, so looking at these, you can see that it's, you know, it's holding up pretty good. So we will call that good.